Hello, everyone. Each of us would love to live another life, explore space, become a hero, travel to another era, or simply journey to the edge of the world. But tomorrow the alarm will ring again, you'll wake up and head to work or school. However, we live in an amazing time when we can immerse ourselves in another life, at least for a couple of hours. And thankfully, video games give us this opportunity. On the other side of the screen, you can become anyone, and the immersion will be so deep that reality and game blend into one. This is what we call game atmosphere. Today, I'll tell you about the most atmospheric games where you literally want to live. But I won't drag this out. Let's get to the list. Here we go. Assassin's Creed Unity. This isn't just another sequel in the series, but an attempt to capture revolutionary France in all its complexity and beauty. After Black Flag, which was the last game on the old engine, Unity looked like a true step into the next generation. Yes, the start was rough. Bugs, poor optimization, and technical problems damaged its reputation for a long time. But today, everything is different. The game has long been polished, and now it feels exactly as originally intended, a living, immersive experience of late 18th century Paris. The main reason to appreciate Unity is its atmosphere. Here, France isn't just drawn, it breathes. Crowds of people in the streets, street musicians, the shouts of merchants, demonstrations, and secret conspiracies. All this creates the feeling of a real revolution. Each district of the city has its own energy, its own sounds, its own life. Narrow streets, courtyards, rooftops, where you can climb and observe what's happening. All this creates a desire to simply walk around, listen, and breathe in the era. Notre Dame occupies a central place in this world. Not just because of its beauty, but because it, like all of Paris, becomes a full participant in events. The game doesn't just let you look at a historical period, it allows you to live through it. You don't just complete missions, you seem to get lost in the thick of events, feeling the anxiety of a time of change. And the change from day to night, street noise, candlelight, and crowd sounds all together create one of the strongest atmospheres in the entire Assassin's Creed series. Unity is a game people return to not for the action, but to feel like part of revolutionary Paris again. The city here isn't just a backdrop, it's a character. Living, huge, contradictory, and memorable. This installment also features the most varied and colorful parkour. Moreover, despite the game being beautiful in its original form 11 years later, if you install texture mods, improved shadows and lighting, Paris becomes truly photorealistic. Hogwarts Legacy. I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan of the Harry Potter universe, but I must admit I highly value J.K. Rowling's work, as well as the film series based on the writer's books, which were part of my childhood. So there was no way I could pass up this game. The game immediately immerses you in the atmosphere of the universe, even though only a few minutes have passed since launching the game. Obviously, the developers took special care in creating the world of Hogwarts. Around you, you notice a huge amount of unfamiliar things. Your eyes are literally darting around from such variety, and your heart beats even faster because right now, you've finally been able to touch your childhood dream. And be careful, if you leave Hogwarts to explore other locations, you might never return. As chess, all kinds of secrets and puzzles are hidden everywhere. And it's a shame that necessary spells like Alohomora won't be available for you to learn anytime soon. Side quests are similar to each other, and yes, they even resemble what you might have seen in other games. But here they don't get boring. In my humble opinion, Hogwarts Legacy deserves attention not only from Potterheads, but from anyone who wants to experience something beautiful. To escape for a while from boring, gray reality into a world of magic, goodness, and wizardry. Where else could you fly on a noble hippogriff, soar on a broomstick around Hogwarts, or stroll through the streets of Hogsmeade? Plus, play the quirky game of Quidditch, which is available through DLC. Dead Space Remake. I'm not ashamed to say, folks, that this is the best remake of all I've ever played, especially among horror games. The developers did a colossal job transferring everything people loved about the original to a new engine. They perfected the graphics, sound, and gameplay, while also introducing many new mechanics and elements, making this game interesting for both newcomers and old fans. I won't go into detail describing the project since many are already familiar with the plot, but briefly, a team with the main character, Isaac, an engineer by profession, arrives at the spaceship Ishimura to investigate an alarm signal and find his wife. They discover the ship in ruins, full of monsters and frightening experiments, as well as something far more dangerous. Together with Isaac, players embark on an exciting adventure on the Ishimura, trying to survive this waking nightmare. The remake has no obvious flaws. I don't even want to nitpick about small details. The revival of this game from Electronic Arts is a significant event, especially for those who have never played Dead Space. An exciting adventure awaits you, filled with brutality, atmosphere, and a deeply developed world. This remake is truly a masterful reimagining, worthy of respect for the legacy of the original. Elden Ring. Games don't always need modifications to create a truly impressive world. There are rare cases when it's not technology but atmosphere that grabs you from the first minutes. Elden Ring is exactly such a case. Yes, it doesn't strive for photorealism. And yes, you could call it a stuffy Dark Souls with an open world, or a game where everything kills you. But that's not what we're talking about here. The main thing is the feeling of the world. It seems to breathe. It's alive. You walk through fields bathed in golden light and feel like you've entered another dimension. You enter ruins and feel uncomfortable, as if something is lurking there. The game seems to draw you in. Somewhere quiet, somewhere anxious, and somewhere you just want to freeze and listen to the wind driving dust over stones. Each location is an emotion. The gloom of swamps, the grandeur of mountains, the silence of snowy expanses. The Erd Tree especially sets the atmosphere. It doesn't just hang somewhere in the background, it changes the perception of the entire world. Light, shadow, composition, everything around it adjusts. You feel its presence throughout the game. And especially pleasant, all this works without any mods. Despite Elden Ring not being technically the most advanced game, it looks stunningly beautiful, all thanks to the mastery of From Software's artists. They created a world where every frame could be used as wallpaper. The sunsets here are a separate art form, and when you're racing on horseback in the rays of the evening sun, and suddenly something the size of a house jumps out from behind a hill, you're simultaneously afraid and amazed. Elden Ring is about aesthetics, anxiety, and exploration. It's a game where atmosphere is stronger than graphics, and artistic style is stronger than technology. If you love dark fantasy, mysteries, and the feeling that the world doesn't wait for you, this is your place. It's beautiful, atmospheric, and deadly. Skyrim. Yes, I know that I've probably already annoyed many with this game, The Witcher 3, RDR, and other cult games, but I can't help it. These are legendary games in my opinion. I didn't add The Witcher and Red Dead Redemption to avoid repetition, but Skyrim, sorry folks, I couldn't leave it out. There's simply not a single person on Earth who hasn't at least heard of this wonderful creation. So my statement will be a bit dry. In this game, you can either live or simply complete the storyline without even being distracted by radiant quests, which are as common as dirt. And in either case, it will leave a pleasant aftertaste, and you'll remember it, if not for your entire life, then for a very long time. This stable masterpiece has held first place in my heart since 2011, perhaps second only to Oblivion. Skyrim is a legendary work with a detailed game world, rich Scandinavian atmosphere, engaging gameplay with massive exploration elements, and an impressive level of replayability. The game is a successful embodiment of a magical fairy tale in which it's extremely pleasant to exist. It's unique in many ways. For a person with a rich imagination, the world of Skyrim will become a real escape from the grayness and monotony of everyday reality. Despite rather ordinary plots and all the technical miscalculations, from my heart, I give this game 10 points. A cultural phenomenon that has had a colossal influence on the entire gaming industry. Stray. The main plot is simple and without special revelations. Humanity has long been extinct, and nature has taken power over cities, covering everything in bright green tones. We won't be allowed to observe these beauties for long. Pretty quickly, our cat finds itself in an abyss, like Alice in Wonderland. Flying through the rabbit hole, we find ourselves in a completely different world in terms of atmosphere. At the very bottom of the slums, where even sunlight doesn't reach, essentially our goal is simply to return home. And this path will be very difficult and thorny. You know what's good about Stray? It gives the feeling of a classic quest, those from the mid-90s. Many remember and love those quests. And Stray is conceptually not at the gameplay level, but rather structurally at the story level. It's a classic quest. This thought never left me throughout my playthrough. And, I think games nowadays should be evaluated not by budget, graphics, or the number of hours needed to complete them. No, games are better evaluated based on the emotions they give the player. This game is the best in recent years in terms of emotions received. Perhaps because initially you don't expect much from it. All these far-fetched AAA projects, repetitions of the same games, outrageous prices, bugs, tedious grinding. Honestly, folks, I'm sick of all these games. But Stray is a completely different matter. An original, simply sweetest story. Not dragged out, interesting. I want to return again and again. The ending of the game is just tear-jerking. And the tears aren't post-factum because of what happened. No, but because of the meaning. The meaning that was invested in this plot as a whole. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Valhalla is an exciting journey into the world of Vikings, filled with adventures, battles, and historical mysteries. This game from the famous Assassin's Creed series presents a unique opportunity to immerse yourself in Viking life, explore their culture, and realize your version of the Viking epic. One of the most impressive aspects of the game is the open world, covering vast territories of Norway and England. You can explore the picturesque landscape, discover secrets, explore ancient sanctuaries, and engage in battles with other Vikings and Saxons. This open world is created with magnificent attention to detail and historical accuracy, which adds unique charm to the game. The graphics and atmosphere of Valhalla are simply stunning. The game offers picturesque landscapes, detailed characters, and captivating musical atmosphere, creating an indescribable impression. Valhalla is an amazing journey into the past that will enrich you with historical knowledge, beautiful graphics, and an exciting plot. If you're interested in history and adventures, this game definitely deserves your attention. And folks, you'll hardly see such beauty in many other games. The world here is insanely beautiful. Resident Evil 4 Remake. First, it should be noted that the original game was released almost 20 years ago and became iconic in the video game world. It changed the industry, introduced many innovations that became standards for the genre, and it's worth mentioning that the game influenced series like Gears of War, and when creating The Last of Us, the developers were inspired by Resident Evil 4. The original game itself somewhat departed from the gameplay canons of the classic parts of the series, but this in no way diminishes its merits and the laudatory reviews it earned and continues to deserve to this day. And I'm happy to report, folks, that Resident Evil 4 from 23 certainly didn't disappoint. Graphics and sound were updated to modern standards, making the game visually very beautiful and atmospheric. Resident Evil 4 Remake became more Resident Evil than the original part released in 2005. For example, the exploratory aspect of the game was improved. The world became much more extensive. There's always something to study and explore. You definitely won't be bored here. The game also works better with horror elements, creating a viscous, eerie atmosphere and building suspense in those moments where it's most appropriate and works best. Resident Evil 4 is an excellent remake of a cult game that justifies its appearance and all the time spent waiting for it. It not only preserves but enhances the original atmosphere, making the game a true masterpiece. I strongly recommend playing it, especially for fans of the original Resident Evil 4, and basically for anyone looking for an atmospheric survival horror. Horizon Forbidden West. Despite the fact that I always pay attention to graphics last when evaluating a game, here it really impressed me. For myself, I highlight this as the main advantage of the game, which then brings along all other benefits. Combined with surprisingly good optimization and a decent photo mode, it creates a real wow effect. Perhaps it fully justifies its 125 gigabytes on my SSD. Excellently rendered, world, colors, characters, movement, and facial expressions. Of course, not everything is perfect, but I don't even know what to compare this level to. In fact, the map in the game isn't that big, but it's divided into different beautiful biomes, winter locations, deserts, jungles, islands, beautiful sunsets and sunrises, and weather phenomena including snow, rain, and hurricanes. So you'll be able to see plenty of colorful views here, and this is supported by a good photo mode that multiplies the potential for your creativity. All these aspects create a very colorful atmosphere in the game, which dulls other shortcomings and inconveniences. I don't want to focus too much on Aloy's appearance. Yes, her cheeks got fuller since the first part. It happens. She saved the world after all, she can afford it. The gameplay and story haven't gone far from its predecessor. However, if you were delighted with the previous part, this part will definitely appeal to you 100%. But also, I can recommend the game not only to fans of Aloy's universe, but also to lovers of beautiful graphics and enchanting landscapes. The game is insanely beautiful. Death Stranding. If there's a game where you just want to stand and look at the landscape, it's Death Stranding. For me, it's an obvious game for this video, with an open world that personally seemed not only unusual but beautiful in its own way. The genius of Hideo Kojima once again showed that even walking through wastelands can be fascinating if surrounded by fantastically beautiful nature. Mountains covered with fog, endless green hills, rocky cliffs, and rivers with crystal clear water. The world of Death Stranding resembles Iceland, but looks even cooler than reality. Here you can literally feel the wind, hear how raindrops fall to the ground, and watch as the sun rises on the horizon, painting the clouds in crimson colors. Moreover, water animation, realistic physics, and incredible lighting create an atmosphere of complete immersion. At night, it's dark, just like in reality, and the starry sky is simply amazing. When it starts raining, puddles fill with water, reflecting the surrounding world, and during a storm, everything around becomes a real hell. The graphics are top-notch initially, but if you want to squeeze the maximum, mods for ray tracing, 4K textures, and improved shadows will make the landscapes even more realistic. And yes, this is a bit off-topic, but for owners of an OLED monitor or TV, the same night walks will turn into visual pleasure. Death Stranding is a meditative journey where the world isn't just beautiful, but mesmerizing. Even if you don't connect with the plot and gameplay, the visual experience will definitely leave a mark in your memory. Well, friends, these were some of the most atmospheric games that have already been released. Of course, this was only a small part of the games, so folks, write in the comments about your favorite atmospheric games. This way you'll help other commenters find something new and interesting, and you'll help me create new videos. I would be immensely grateful for a like. It really motivates me to continue making new content for you. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. There will be a lot of interesting things ahead for you. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hugs to everyone, and good luck.